Excellent. What's up? Hey, ladies. So excited to have you joining me here. Okay, Strong Moms Wellness Wednesday. Here we go. Hopefully that pops up. I want to make sure that we're on live. So if you are catching me right now, I'd love to see you commenting below to give me that sort of thumbs up that you're here. I am Morgan Tebow, and I am the founder of Strong Moms, the head coach here. I'm a certified consistency coach. I'm also a women's fitness specialist, as well as a wife and a mom, just like all of you. I love being connected in this community. It's just such an authentic way for us to get that mom to mom support. We're in the trenches of just trying to simplify our self-care and show up as our best selves. And if that's what you're here to do, I'm so glad to hear it. And let's dive right in to today's session. So as you come in, I love to see you commenting. You guys really requested this topic last week when I did the poll. The things that were the top, we're talking about core integrity, which we did that session last week. So if you missed it, you can find that in the group, or you can ask me for it by tagging me below. But emotional eating was a super close second in terms of a topic that you guys wanted to talk about. And I'm excited to bring you today's session. So buckle up and let's dive into it. Let's get really started. So on Monday, I actually asked right before the session, I asked a question in the group. I asked how emotional eating kind of presented for you. And there was such a wide range of responses. I mean, there was everything from simply getting the munchies if you're feeling mad or frustrated. I saw comfort eating come up. I saw I eat when I'm bored, or not eating at all when you get that or stressed out. I also saw things like not realizing that you were overeating or binge eating until that was over. And I even saw avoidance. So eating as a form of procrastination, like instead of doing what you said you were going to do or needed to do or should be doing, you're eating, you're choosing to go to food. So I wanted to dive in with some basics here because it was such a wide range. Emotional eating is not a one size fits all approach. So we are going to dive in deep today. This is not sort of like a one and done kind of session. I want you to really listen in. I want you to tune into what makes the most sense for you. I want you dropping into the comments where you think you fall based on how this presents in your life in terms of emotional eating, when your emotions are guiding, when, what, and how much you eat, stress eating, which can manifest in either over or under eating, and mindless eating, where we're eating without thinking or while multitasking, right? And of course, there's going to be some crossover between these three, but there's always somewhere to start from, and we need to kind of establish a little bit of a baseline. So I'm going to unpack each one of these, and my hope is that by the end of this Wellness Wednesday session, you'll be commenting with your aha moments and feeling more confident and hopeful about being able to redefine your relationship with food and not feeling like you're constantly on the defense or being reactive or just upset or feeling guilty or just constantly battling with food. Okay, let me check over here on Facebook. Hopefully you guys are seeing me, hearing me, and you're going to start popping in. But we're going to jump right in with today talking what is emotional eating, okay? So emotional eating is very straightforward. This is when your emotions, anything from boredom to stress, grief, etc., are guiding what, when, and how much you eat. And emotional eating doesn't have to be in response to a major life event or intense news, right? It can also take place in response to like day-to-day emotions, loneliness, anxiety, chaos, disorganization, things like that, or even feelings of excitement can cue or trigger emotional eating. So what is emotional eating? If you are eating in order to soothe uncomfortable feelings, to fill an emotional hole, or to entertain yourself, then stopping this emotional eating is going to be hard. So you're asking food basically to do something that it cannot actually do, which means the message in your brain will continue to be more food, more food, more food. Because your brain is left unsatisfied, because your body's left unsatisfied by the food, as you're attempting to kind of fit this like food-shaped peg into a feeling-shaped hole, if you will, right? Think of it like this. Feelings are an itch that cannot be scratched with food. Food is not a solution to your feelings, right? And you have to be willing to practice curiosity and compassion and just start even with just some very small baby steps. And I'm going to give you some today. Those baby steps are to feel your feelings instead of eating them. Okay. And like I said, this is hard work, and being immersed in diet culture doesn't make it any easier. So if you feel like you could use some real coaching or brain training or support in navigating your emotions and learning how to feel your feelings without trying to just stuff it down, I want you to comment support. I want you to let me know where you are right now in terms of being able to manage this. Are you just becoming aware of it? Is it something you've been working on for a long time, but you haven't figured out how to get the solution to stick? Is it something that you do okay with for a little while, but certain scenarios or situations are more triggering and then you're spiraling out of control? And if you need support, like figure out where you are and then advocate for it. You guys know I encourage you so often to advocate for what you need. So let me give you some things that you can do to start navigating emotional eating in terms of being able to just feel your feelings, right? But emotional eating is often, it's a habit more than anything else. What happens is we start to use food to soothe and, hey, Courtney, we start to use food to like soothe and cope with emotions unknowingly, okay? And then eventually, before you realize it, you're reaching for that bag of salty chips or maybe chocolate chips every single time stress boils over at work, right? So in order to properly navigate emotional eating, we need to create a new habit. And as a side note, if you have ever worked with me in any capacity, or if you listen to these Wednesday calls, you know that I always encourage you to focus on building the positive, focusing on what you can add, not restrict or take away, right? And so we want to think about building new habits, creating new habits, which is easier and feels more pleasurable to your brain than trying to break old habits or restrict our emotional eating, okay? And to give you kind of 3 actionable steps to get you moving in the right direction, the first thing that you need to do is just to get in the habit of identifying your emotions, okay? So if you find yourself eating, like just simply checking in with yourself, stopping and saying, how am I feeling right now? That's it. I mean, like, is that like, I need to simplify this for you. Then 2, I want you acknowledging when you're reaching for food for emotional reasons. The only reason I'm eating this is because I'm feeling overwhelmed. The only reason I'm eating this right now is because I'm feeling upset or stressed or sad, right? You need to acknowledge that. Notice how I didn't say that you need to punish yourself, guilt yourself, stop eating, right? We just need to acknowledge it. Yep, I'm totally eating this because I'm feeling this emotion. Then the 3rd step is determining new ways to cope with that emotion without food. All right, so we don't even get to that part, but that's where everybody tries to start, right? That's where everybody tries to start. Well, that's it. No more sugar for me. No more desserts this week. I'm out of control, right? We always try to start with elimination, with the negative, with restriction, and that's not working. If it's not working because it's not how this works, you have to address the emotion and identify the emotion first. And like I said, simply checking in with yourself can make a world of difference when it comes to emotional eating. So if this was helpful for you right now, I want you to comment. Let me know this was helpful. This is what I need. I need to start working on that 3-step process. Let me know where you are in that 3-step process, right? Or if you still feel a little bit like lost or maybe even hopeless here, then comment below and say support with emotional eating. Let me know where you're at. Be that advocate for yourself. You need to stop and break this cycle Otherwise, you're just going to continue down this road, right? So let's move over and look at stress eating. This is a tricky one. Stress eating happens when your stress levels are guiding what, when, and how much you eat, rather than your physical hunger signals. So you're basically tuning out to your body's natural physical hunger signals, and you're just letting stress lead the way. And stress eating can really manifest in two ways: overeating or undereating. So some of you commented that like emotional eating, the way it presented for you was not eating at all, like loss of appetite. So tune into what I'm about to talk about, because this is for you if that happens. Not only do we reach for food when we're feeling stressed, but sometimes we lack, in that moment, we lack the ability to connect with our bodies and truly nourish ourselves with what we need in that moment. So for example, being able to assess our hunger and fullness cues when you're stressed out, it's not possible, right? Think of any moment this week when you were stressed out and you really had no clue whether you were hungry or not hungry, and you were just kind of flying by the seat of your pants trying to navigate that situation, right? I also want you to keep in mind that stress can stem from even positive situations. So like starting an exciting new job, or planning a wedding, or moving to a new city. These are still stressors in your life, even though they're positive circumstances, okay? Stress can appear in a lot of different ways throughout our life, and it doesn't always look like something major or negative, right? It could simply just be that you're running late and you've already told the kids to get their shoes like 3 times and the baby has a blowout, right? That's not like some major life-changing thing. It's just something that's happening and you're having a stress response to it. But here's how stress impacts your food choices. When you initially experience stress, your appetite is likely to go down. And this is because your nervous system, specifically your sympathetic nervous system, puts your body into what we know as fight or flight. Thumbs up, right? We all know this. And that fight or flight, makes it possible for your body to respond to the stressful situation. What happens is your brain basically tells your adrenal gland to release adrenaline, which increases your heart rate, which starts sending blood to the muscles of your heart so you can take action, right? It's a stressful situation. We need to take action. And this temporarily puts your appetite, your hunger on hold. It suppresses your appetite when you are under stress because of the adrenaline that is released, okay? Once that stressful situation or event passes, your nervous system can then return to its baseline. But if the event hasn't passed, then the nervous system kind of remains triggered and responding to that stress, even if it's like a low level stress that's happening kind of in the background, okay? And when this happens, this is when your body releases cortisol, all right? Cortisol, we know this as our stress hormone. I'm sure you've heard lots about cortisol, but unlike adrenaline, which can suppress and kind of pause your appetite or your hunger signals, cortisol increases your appetite. It's like go time, baby. We need to fuel up, all right? So if your stress response continues to remain turned on, what happens is your cortisol levels remain elevated, okay? So then if you're experiencing this continuous stress, this chronic stress, even if it's a low level stress kind of in the background, something that's not being addressed, you are more likely to experience that hunger, that you want to eat, you need to eat. Now your body's ready to eat. But you're also more likely in those, when it's triggered by stress and cortisol, you're more likely to experience cravings for comfort type foods like carbohydrates and sugary foods. Why? Because sugar releases dopamine. All right. Dopamine is a feel-good chemical in the brain, in the body. And that feel-good chemical activates the pleasure center of your brain. It's kind of like cha-ching, pulling a slot machine. It's like cha-ching, I'm about to feel really good when those numbers line up and I hit the jackpot. cha-ching, I'm about to feel really good. Okay, so this is what's happening with dopamine in your brain, right? I'm about to feel really good. I'm going to eat this entire bowl of cereal. Actually, I'm going to feel better if I eat more. I'm about to feel really good. I'm going to keep eating 1 cookie, 2 cookies, 3 cookies. I'm about to feel really good. That is what is actually happening. So all in all, like stress eating is both a physiological and a psychological response to stress. It's very normal to experience. We all experience this, but how can you escape or get out of this sort of adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine cycle or trap, really, right? You don't want to be stuck there. So here's what we want to do about it. When we're talking about stress eating, first, one common reaction to stop stress eating that I see in a lot of women that I coach is moms trying to avoid these comfort foods altogether. So it's like you've been stress eating, you ate a bunch of cookies, you got into the kids' candy haul, like whatever it is for you. And then you're like, that's it, no more for me. I'm not going to have, I'm clearing all the junk out of the house. We're not going to have cookies. We're not going to have cake. We're not going to have desserts or whatever it is, right? And then you restrict, which doesn't feel good in your brain or your body, but you still experience that stress, which causes you to want that stuff. And so you find other ways to get to it. Or you seek out some sort of diet or detox to get back on track. You're like, you know, that's it. I really need to be good. So all week long, you're really good. You stick to your meal plan, you're eating well, but then you lose it on the weekends. This is all part of this trap that you're stuck in with this stress eating cycle. So not only do these things not solve the root cause of the problem, but it can actually cause you to undereat or overeat even more and keep you in that adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine cycle, okay? And this leaves you not knowing how to actually deal with your stress or your stress eating. And then inevitably, when you are faced with stress again, which will happen, you are going to be more susceptible to stress eating. Every time it happens, you're rewarding your brain with that cycle. Every time you get rewarded, your brain then creates a neural pathway to then make this a habit, something that gets put on autopilot, something that becomes second nature. And so you continue to become more and more susceptible to that stress eating, making it harder and harder and harder for you to break that cycle. Avoiding foods also causes you to develop, we know this, an unhealthy relationship with foods. Now you're demonizing, foods that have too much sugar. Now you're demonizing high calorie foods. Now you're restricting carbs, right? And so this becomes an unhealthy relationship with food, which actually takes you further and further away from your long-term goals of being healthy, right? But again, like this is again what diet culture has taught us, along with so many other unhealthy habits, right? Check in with your stress levels, all right? Tune into your hunger levels before eating. And then probably the most important thing is to have a stress relieving practice that you can turn to, whatever that looks like for you. Be sure that you have something that on a regular basis on your calendar you can use to combat ongoing stress. Stress is never going to be eliminated. You're never going to be stress free. What can happen is that you can become really aware and good at managing and navigating stress in your life. That's what can happen. All right. So I want you to have some sort of a practice that you can turn to whenever you notice yourself reaching for those comfort foods because of stress. So if any of this was an aha moment for you, I want you to pause and jump into the comments and let me know. Likewise, if you're like, Coach, this is mind blowing. I understand it, but I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know how to stop this. It's really ingrained. It's happening all the time. I need more help. Then I need you to comment and ask for support. Okay. This isn't the type of space where we just, come for information, come and get, a resource or whatever. It's where you can actually show up and advocate for what you need to take action, get engaged in your own life and put these practices into action so that you can really start changing things and getting the results that you want. Lastly, we're going to dive into mindless eating. Okay. I'm flying through these, but I wanted to fit all three of these in today because, like I said, in your responses on the question I asked, I mean, it was just such a wide range. I had to touch on each one. So mindless eating is when you are disconnected from your experience, from experiencing your food and your body. And this is what makes it difficult for you to enjoy what you're eating. It makes it really hard for you to actually tune into your body to know when you are full, when you're satisfied, when you're satiated, and all of that just becomes a total blur, right? We've all done this one. We've all, whatever, maybe we're eating while watching TV, or we're grazing on food all day, or you're eating while driving the mom taxi around, right? We have all participated in mindless eating. We are busy people. I don't know a single mom that isn't busy, right? So we're never going to be 100% mindful every single time we're eating. But the problem with mindful eating is that it can lead to several unwanted results. It can lead to binge eating episodes. It can lead to feeling overly full, which causes digestive upset, which can cause gut health issues. It can lead to spiraling into emotional eating. So bottom line is mindless eating never serves us well. And if you participated in my refresh and reboot course, then you have the tools that you can start using to be more mindful with your meals. If you participated in the Best Self Bootcamp, again, we talked about mindful eating and how to apply those in your everyday life. Start with one thing. Just start with one of those tools and start using it. Bottom line, though, is I need you to focus on addressing your emotions head on. Okay, we need to go into this head on. This is the most important tip and takeaway for you today. Emotional eating often takes place when your emotions or the stressors are left unaddressed, right? They are the root cause of all this disordered eating and all of this discomfort with your body and all of this struggle and this physical, stress that you have because of this emotional eating. So in order to stop emotional eating, we need to address our emotions as they arise. In order to stop stress overeating or stress under eating, you need to manage your stress. In order to stop mindlessly eating, you need to slow down and be present with your food. All right, you need to be aware. Here's the thing: if water was left on in the bathtub and it was overflowing and there's water spilling out all over the floor everywhere in the bathroom, what would you do first? Would you run and get lots and lots of towels to start cleaning up the water? No, of course not. You would turn off the tap. You would turn off the water. Addressing the root cause is the only way that you are going to make peace with food and you are going to stop these damaging cycles. If you are going to commit to turning off the tap, I want you to comment, turn off the tap, all right? Because that is where we need to be. That is where we need to get to. The second thing that I want you to take away today is you need to get over the guilt. Let me be so honest. I will always be as honest as I can with you guys. I don't like to sugarcoat or dance around things. It's just like, as you start working on this during your recovery from emotional eating or stress eating, right? You will eat emotionally plenty more times. Please do not expect that emotional eating will just one day stop, because you will be very disappointed. You will feel like a failure. You will feel like you just don't have the willpower, and because you didn't stop immediately. Okay? Instead, the way this works is get over that guilt. I need you to just notice that over time, with work and support, that reaching for food due to emotions or stress or mindlessly will simply become less frequent. You will feel more peace around those situations. You maybe eat a little bit less each time, or maybe you recover better or more quickly afterwards. You feel more peace about the situation once it's happened. You can recognize it, acknowledge it for what it was, and move on, right? You don't dwell on it. You don't dive deeper into another cycle of emotional guilt and eating. So here's what I want you to try. After an emotional eating situation, tell yourself, I binged. That is okay. It's going to happen sometimes. It was just a binge. I'm going to resist the urge to go on a diet or restrict or punish myself. And instead, I'm just going to continue to work on listening to my body. That's it. All right. We've got to get over that guilt. And I also want you to focus on getting connected and supported, right? If any of these things feel really intense for you or out of control, speak to somebody, talk to a counselor, get some professional support. I hope that what you're seeing is that it's not about the food. It's not the cake, the cookies, the ice cream, the wine, the chocolate, or whatever else it is that you're stuffing in your face in these moments. The food is like you running to get more towels while the water is still on full blast and spilling, over the bathtub, all over the floor. You don't need any more towels, AKA diets, meal plans, or more or better willpower, right? What you need is to address the root cause. Okay. And that might mean getting connected, getting some support. Maybe it just means getting, more intentional about posting in the group and advocating for yourself here. It's hard to change these habits. It's not impossible. Okay. But it is really hard, and it makes a huge difference when you're connected and supported to someone or others who are also on this same path towards healing their relationship with food, addressing the root cause of emotional stress or mindless eating. There is another way, right, to meet your health goals, weight loss, strength goals, et cetera. And it starts with unlearning what diet culture has taught you, so the diet rules, and relearning new skills and forming a better relationship with food. And if this is something that you have struggled with on your own for a long time, I want you to feel excited and hopeful. Today is the day to let go of what has happened before, right? And decide that right now is a brand new opportunity to do things differently. Take what you are absorbing from this session and put it into action. What is your aha moment right now from this session, right? Inside the Strong Moms Consistency Club, I'm going to tell you straight up, it is all about simplifying self-care, helping you find the positive way forward and being able to create new habits, routines with support, with education, with real-time coaching to actually help you put these things into practice in your life, so that you're making real change with food and real progress on your health. If you need that support, ask for it below. If you want more information about the Consistency Club, ask for it, right? Tag me, let me know. But this was our first big deep dive into emotional eating. And I hope that it's helped you find some solutions, gain some clarity, confidence, and some excitement about being able to move forward beyond emotional eating, stress eating, or just having this negative, relationship with food because we're not addressing the emotions or managing the stress or being present. Let's turn towards those key, tap root cause and deal with that. And I want you to be able to come into this group and talk about that, or to be able to message me and talk about that. All right. Know that if you know what you should be doing, there is a gap between knowing and doing, right? And if you feel stuck kind of in that cycle of on track, off track, or if you're sitting here thinking, this makes sense, I just don't know how to do it. I've tried. That is where you need to reach out for the help, okay? Because it's absolutely insane to continue to struggle and stay stuck doing something that you know is damaging, not helping you, and not fixing the problem that we actually need to address, all right? And it's as simple as just dropping the word support today in the comments, and then we can chat through it. Maybe it's just a matter of giving you a couple of tools. Maybe it's a matter of going back through the refresh and revisiting those mindful eating techniques. Maybe it's a matter of joining the Consistency Club so that you have consistent coaching for real situations that you're facing on a day-to-day basis, where we can show you how to adjust, and having that mom-to-mom support where people can relate and share their experiences as they're overcoming it with you. All right, ladies, that is it for today. And I really hope that today was supportive and that you feel like this is the type of content you want to continue to show up for. So let me know about that in the comments. And I can't wait to see you guys back here next week for another great session. I'll see you then. Bye.